Our brains are incredible. Think of them as the super busy, super smart command centers for our entire bodies. They store our favorite memories like the taste of birthday cake or the feeling of a warm hug. They help us solve puzzles, learn new things, and even dream. Billions of tiny nerve cells called neurons are constantly zipping messages back and forth, creating a vast, intricate network that makes you, well, you. This network is responsible for every thought, every feeling, and every action. It's a biological supercomputer working every second of every day, and it's truly a marvel of nature. Consider this. The connections in a single human brain outnumber the stars in our galaxy. Now, let's talk about a condition that creates a major problem for this amazing command center. It's called Alzheimer's disease. You can think of it as a slow, silent process that begins to disrupt the brain's communication system. At first, the changes are small, maybe making it a little harder to remember a new name or find the right word. But over time, this disruption gets more serious, affecting not just memory, but also our ability to think clearly and even how we behave. It's a progressive disease, meaning it gets worse over time, gradually taking away the functions that make our brains so special. It's important to understand that Alzheimer's isn't just about forgetting things, which happens to all of us from time to time. We all misplace our keys or forget why we walked into a room. Alzheimer's is different. It's a disease that physically changes the brain's structure. Imagine the intricate wiring of a city's power grid slowly getting tangled and disconnected. The lights would start to flicker in some neighborhoods and eventually go out completely. That's a good way to picture what Alzheimer's does to the brain's neural network, making it harder and harder for messages to get where they need to go. This process can be confusing and scary, both for the person experiencing it and for their family and friends. But here's the thing about science. We are explorers of the unknown. By understanding what's happening inside the brain, we can start to figure out how to fight back. Scientists all over the world are working tirelessly to unravel this mystery. The first step in solving any problem is to understand it, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's take a closer look at the tiny culprits causing all this trouble inside the brain. So, what exactly is going wrong inside the brain with Alzheimer's? Scientists have identified two main suspects that cause a lot of the damage. The first one is a sticky protein called amyloid-beta. Normally, little pieces of this protein are created and cleared away without any issues. But in Alzheimer's, something goes wrong with the cleanup process. These amyloid-beta pieces start to clump together, forming hard, insoluble buildups between the neurons. These clumps are called amyloid plaques. Imagine them as sticky roadblocks suddenly appearing on the super-fast information highways of your brain, making it difficult for messages to travel smoothly. These plaques don't just sit there quietly. They are troublemakers. They interfere with the signals being sent between neurons, disrupting communication. Think of it like trying to have a conversation with a friend while a very loud construction project is happening right between you. The plaques create so much noise and physical obstruction that the messages get lost or distorted. This disruption is one of the earliest changes seen in the Alzheimer's brain, and it sets the stage for more problems to come. The brain's natural defense systems recognize these plaques as foreign invaders, which kicks off another set of reactions. The second suspect operates inside the neurons themselves. Our neurons have an internal support structure, a sort of skeleton made of microtubules that helps transport nutrients and other essential molecules from one end of the cell to the other. This structure is kept stable by a protein called tau. In a healthy brain, tau proteins are like the sturdy railroad ties that keep the tracks straight and strong. In Alzheimer's, the tau proteins change shape, collapse, and tangle together into twisted fibers called neurofibrillary tangles. This causes the microtubule tracks to fall apart completely. When these tracks collapse, the neuron's transport system breaks down. It's like a train track suddenly buckling and twisting, preventing any supplies from reaching a town. The neuron can no longer get the nutrients it needs to survive and function, and it can't send messages effectively. This internal collapse, combined with the external roadblocks from the amyloid plaques, creates a double whammy of damage. The neuron becomes sick, its communication lines are cut, and eventually it can no longer sustain itself. It's a devastating one-two punch at the cellular level. With amyloid plaques gumming up the works on the outside and tau tangles causing chaos on the inside, the brain's neurons are under a tremendous amount of stress. This brings in another key player: inflammation. Just like when you get a cut on your skin and it becomes red and swollen, the brain has its own immune response. Special immune cells in the brain, called microglia, see the plaques as a threat and rush to the scene to clean up the mess. In the short term, this is a good thing. But in Alzheimer's, the problem is chronic. The plaques keep forming. This means the microglia are always activated, releasing chemicals that cause persistent inflammation, or what scientists call neuroinflammation. While these chemicals are meant to destroy enemies, in a constant state of high alert, they start to damage the neurons themselves. It's like calling in the fire department to put out a small fire in your kitchen, but they end up spraying so much water that they damage the rest of the house. This friendly fire from the brain's own immune system adds yet another layer of damage, contributing to the decline of healthy brain tissue. On top of all this, there's a process called oxidative stress. Think of it as cellular rust. Our cells create unstable molecules called free radicals as a byproduct of using energy. Normally, our bodies have antioxidants to neutralize them, but in the stressed-out Alzheimer's brain, there's an overload of these free radicals. This oxidative stress damages all parts of the neuron, including its outer membrane and its DNA. This combination of plaques, tangles, inflammation, and oxidative stress creates a toxic environment that is simply too much for the neurons to handle. Ultimately, this whole cascade of events leads to a massive communication breakdown. Neurons need to connect with each other to function. The connections between them are called synapses. Alzheimer's disease attacks these synapses, weakening and destroying them long before the neurons themselves die. As more and more synapses are lost, entire networks begin to fail. This is why memory is often one of the first things to be affected. The hippocampus, a key brain region for forming new memories, is particularly vulnerable to this damage. The brain literally begins to shrink as cells die and connections are lost. So, how do all these microscopic changes lead to the symptoms we see in a person with Alzheimer's? It all comes down to that massive loss of connections. When neurons in the hippocampus are damaged, a person struggles to form new memories. They might ask the same question over and over because the answer never gets stored. As the disease spreads to other parts of the brain, other functions are affected. Damage to the frontal lobe, which controls reasoning and social behavior, can lead to changes in personality, poor judgment, and difficulty with complex tasks like managing finances. The progression of the disease follows the path of destruction through the brain. As more regions are affected, a person may have trouble with language, getting lost in familiar places, or recognizing loved ones. It's a direct result of the brain's command center losing its ability to process information and send out clear instructions. The silent battle that began with sticky proteins has now erupted into a full-scale crisis that affects every aspect of a person's life. It is a heartbreaking process, witnessing the slow fading of a person's abilities and personality. But, and this is a very important but, the story does not end here. Every single day, thousands of brilliant and dedicated scientists around the world are working to change this story. They are our explorers, our problem solvers, and our hope. They are developing new tools to see plaques and tangles in the living brain, allowing for earlier and more accurate diagnoses. This is a huge step forward because the earlier we can detect the disease, the better our chances are of intervening before too much damage is done. The future is bright with possibility. Researchers are testing new medicines designed to clear amyloid plaques, prevent tau from tangling, and calm the brain's overactive immune response. They are studying how genetics, lifestyle, and environment play a role, looking for ways to protect our brains and reduce our risk. Science is a slow and steady process, but it is relentless. With every experiment and every discovery, we get one step closer to not just treating Alzheimer's, but preventing it altogether. We are turning knowledge into action, and that is something to be very hopeful about. Consider this: science is leading the way.